What's up, yo? This is Viewspodcast. My name is Derek.
My name is Jay, co-host.
And Charlie, we are back. We are back today with something very interesting and with a special guest. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, it's a long time coming.
There's this guy who is making some claim. Is it a claim or is it a fact? Well, we'll find out today.
We'll find out.
Charlie. And it's actually a revelation. If there are facts to this, we need to sit up and start doing something. But we have in our midst a special guest.
Very important.
His name is Mr. Ebenezer Offei Ansah.
Sharp.
He's an agricultural scientist from Kumasi, Legon. That's tech. And he's an agricultural scientist. That's what he's been doing. But then he's been out of town. Currently a candidate at Michigan State University, a student actually, reading international agricultural development. Now that's deep. I don't know what it means.
That's a tongue twister.
I don't know what it means, but actually he will explain. But his main focus, his passion, and that's what I think we're going to touch on today.
Yeah.
Is political economy of agricultural and development policy. Charlie. I don't know what it means again, but he will explain.
Yeah.
Charlie, welcome.
Thanks, Larry.
Charlie, welcome.
But like before you go start, if for pay or dues, sir.
I for paid you, so I mean we are in the midst of a big man.
Oh, okay.
So I forgive the accolades first.
Very necessary.
Yeah, man. So today's podcast is brought to you by the Praetorium, the perfect venue for your perfect occasion. They do outdoorings,
weddings, a special outdooring.
Weddings, all kinds of events, fashion shows, town hall meetings, everything there is to it. They have indoor and outdoor facilities, secure parking, standby generator,
PA system
on deck. I mean, AC,
security, everything, man.
All that, and
all in one.
Located in a nice place, man.
Yeah.
That's East Airport, on the Spintex Road. So inside East Airport International School. That's on wild location.
It's a nice location.
And a prime location as well.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in using their services, if you have some wedding coming on, kindly reach them on 0244926622, 0244926622, and schedule a tour with them. You can also find them on Instagram.
Yeah,
as the Praetorium. And Charlie, they have some nice videos, pictures over there.
What to expect, Charlie?
Exactly.
Everything there.
Book a tour with them. The Praetorium, the perfect venue for your perfect occasion. Again, it's also brought to you by where we are now.
Midindi Hotel.
Yeah. Your boutique, your premier boutique hotel, the boutique hotel for the business traveler. I mean, what else can I say?
It'd be home away from home.
Home away from home.
It is a location.
It is a location. And it is a destination.
That'll be your.
So, Charlie, I mean, if you don't know where Midini Hotel is, you do your eye in the first place, but we'll help you out.
Yeah.
It's inside East Cantonment, behind the Elwak Sports Stadium, 300 meters from the Dubois Center, and also, Charlie, far from the visa line. That means American Embassy.
Everybody know that.
Our host go join before, because they be together.
I don't know say they call that place visa line.
Everybody join.
Go stand there.
Yeah. Our host go join before. You go join with Charlie, if you don't know.
Charlie, no be easy.
So Midindi Hotel, you can reach them on 0302770007, 0302770007. Call them and they'll be happy to help you with your needs.
Home away from home. Find them
in the hotel. Charlie, let's jump into it now. Mr. Ebenezer Offei Ansah.
Yes, sir.
You sent me an essay. I think you did it in school. Now it was that ideas transforming Africa.
Yeah.
And you made some wild claims.
Serious claims.
So I called you up and I said, Charlie, it'd be like, we have to put this on the platform and Charlie talk about it. I mean, it's in line with this generation, what we are trying to do. we are trying to elevate our minds and do something different from what we used to, so that we can build a better future for ourselves and our children.
Yeah.
So it's only right we get you on board, and then we try and spark that conversation of thought.
Great.
So, boss,
All right.
just touch on it, and then I'll come in with my questions. Just touch on it for me. But before that, if you want to say something about yourself too, something I haven't touched on, you can go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So once again, thanks for having me. So 2 quick things that are very dear to my heart that you didn't mention in introducing me. One is that I want to let people know of my hometown.
Boss, sorry.
I'm from the Yes, I'm from the great town of Ashirase Krapim. You can't take that out of my identity, so it's very important that we mention it.
Mapa.
Secondly, I didn't just go to tech. I resided in the university hall. I'm a Katangi. You can't take that out of my identity.
Your fellow there, buddy.
I'm a fellow.
Are you, Yati?
Okay, all right, nice. So, quickly on a more serious note, to the ideas that you talked about. I mean, you rightly put it. We are in a dispensation where most of us, especially the youth, are beginning to realize that we need some shifts in the things that we've been doing, the conversations that we've been having, the attitudes and behaviors that we've been putting up as a people, Africans and Ghanaians in particular. And I have some ideas along these lines. Most of them are not things that are coming from me originally. They are things that are out there. The only thing that I am adding to it is how we conceptualize them, and then how we put them in our general conversation. Some of these things are out there. We actually talk about some of them, but we don't talk about them, to me, in the right ways, and we don't make the right interpretations out of those things. And so those are some of the things that I talked about, and I'm glad that you see them as revelations.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you touched on, and this, Charlie, will bring about some controversy, but I'll still ask anyway. Charlie, you said
A controversy good.
Controversy,
Yeah.
and it sells
To spark a good debate.
it sells
Good.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
But you made a wild claim that, and I'm sure you had a different point of view when you said this, but me reading, I feel you still have a point, even if you look at it literally.
Yeah.
You made mention of the fact that we as a people, Africans, we've been talking about the fact that we are endowed with mineral resources, natural resources, but it's not exactly the case, especially now, the present now. That's not the case, and if we continue to ride on that thought, we may be doing a lot of harm to ourselves.
Yeah.
Would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, sure. So let me put it in 2 ways. When I think of the general conversation around resources, particularly natural resources and natural resource endowments of Africa, and I mean, we are talking in Ghana and we are Ghanaian, so sometimes we'll make the conversation particularly about Ghana. When I think about these things, I think about them in 2 ways. The things that we have and we pride ourselves with, and the value that we place on it, and how we misconceptualize the things that we have and how it harms us. And 2, there are things that sometimes at least a section of our population, which is a significant section of the population, think we do have that in actual fact we don't. So that's the second aspect of it. Now, talking about things that we have and how we think about them and how we conceptualize them, how we value them, let me put 2 particular resources in context. Gold and then cocoa. We always hear ourselves priding ourselves with Ghana being the number 2 producer of cocoa in the world. West Africa alone produces 70% of the world's cocoa. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire alone is about 65% of that. We talk about these things all the time.
It's interesting numbers, honestly.
Now always the trumpet that.
Interesting numbers, honestly.
Yeah, they are interesting. They are facts.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
And we have lived with that for very long time. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that 70% of the world's cocoa comes from West Africa. It's not a bad thing to talk about, because who doesn't love chocolate? I mean, tell me, do you know someone who doesn't love chocolate?
The thing is, cocoa is what's coming out of Africa, but they're not chocolate.
Exactly. So it's interesting to talk about how we make 70% of we produce 70% of the world's cocoa. But the problem is what you just talked about. Yeah. Nobody eats cocoa beans. It's chocolate that we eat.
I mean, except for the people who want it for aphrodisiac, but that's another conversation for another time.
I don't know, sir.
But I knew you.
All right.
You go try out.
I knew you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there are several other products that we get out of cocoa, cocoa butter, so many other things. But I mean, the prominent one that everybody wants to think about is chocolate.
Chocolate.
So my issue is that we have a $100 billion chocolate or cocoa industry. Yeah. And then annually, Ghana, for one, gets around 2 billion.
2 billion.
And my problem is why we don't situate our conversation and our general understanding around that. And we rather focus on talking about how we produce 20 to 22% of the world's cocoa. Why is that? Because you can't just tell me that the fact that you produce cocoa alone is enough for you to develop. And if you will agree with me, those are some of the things that we throw around all the time. That we have the resources, and so why are we not developing? We have the resources, why are we not progressing? The point is, you can't just think of 20% or 22% of the world's cocoa beans production and then think about developing just on that. Because we are talking about $100 billion industry, and the beans that Ghana produces is only about 2 billion of that.
You're not adding value, basically.
Exactly.
That's a whole conversation to have. But for me, the meat of this conversation is we need to shift some of these dialogues that we have when it comes to our development and the things that we need to develop. And again, today we are focusing on our resource endowment and how we think it should have helped us develop.
So apart from cocoa, what other resources do you think we are, you're not putting enough value in Ghana?
So the second thing, as I mentioned, that I want us to probably make the focus of our conversation in that regard is gold, for instance.
Okay.
If we look at gold mining in Ghana, for instance, Ghana as a country only gets 1.7% of the value of all the gold that we mine. 1.7. Put it the other way, it means that 98.3% of the value of the gold we mine in Ghana gets out of this country. We are not talking about the jobs that the gold mining industry has created, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about the value of the gold that we mine.
Say all profit.
Only 1.7% of it becomes our money as a country. So my point is, why do we always want to pride ourselves with the fact that now we are actually the #1 producer of gold? We just bypass South Africa. We are the #1 producer of gold worldwide. Why do that's a fact, that's true. It's fancy to talk about that. But my problem is that you can't continue to have your developmental conversations just around these things. Now, I'm thinking or saying that this is a problem because, again, like I said, nobody eats cocoa beans. Nobody puts raw gold on their fingers. It's gold chains and watches and rings that people are wearing.
Yeah.
So we need to think along those lines. I'm not saying that, for instance, we should make chocolate ourselves also, because that's a whole different conversation to have. The point I'm trying to make is that
why can't we make chocolate on our own? I mean,
we
this
actually
is
we do.
But so far we only process just about 30% of our cocoa beans, and that is not processing into chocolate. It's only making it into
a paste.
Yeah. the amount of cocoa that we make into chocolate is just about 3%. So that's nothing to write home about. And again, like I said, I'm not here to talk about how we probably should think of producing chocolate in Ghana, or how we should think about.
We're just talking about the value chain.
Yeah,
how we can create the value for the resources.
Yeah, and how we shouldn't overvalue what we have, because the problem is that.
So basically, what you're saying is, Charlie, we like the accolades. We like to be commended and say, just like with democracy, oh, you've been democratic for how many years? 16 years.
Yeah, what has it given us? What does it mean?
You produce the world's 22% of the world's cocoa. Oh, you are the number one gold producer in the world.
So we just a show face.
We just like the accolades, but it doesn't translate into anything substantive.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's just what we want, and we thrive over that.
And that happens because that's all the conversation we want to have. We make cocoa, we produce cocoa beans. That's all the conversation we want to have. We don't want to think and, like we said, add value. Right now, when it comes to value addition, for instance, to cocoa, like I said, I wouldn't want to think of making chocolate, for instance. But have we ever taken time to think around the box and see, okay, because the world did not start with chocolate in existence. It was someone who thought of cocoa and how it is, and realized that we could have chocolate out of it. So what is stopping us from thinking around the box, outside the box? What else probably could we make out of cocoa that wouldn't be chocolate, such that Switzerland wouldn't allow us to venture into that landscape because they are more powerful than us, and the chocolate industry means a lot to them. I
see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Because
we had palm oil here. We gave it to Malaysia.
And now
they are doing wonderful things with the same palm oil we eat abenkwai.
Yeah, I know.
And you see, the funny thing is, these things, it's not as though we can't do them. Let me give you an example. Plantain. When we were growing up as kids, all we knew plantain could be used for was ampesi and fufu. But some few years ago, now we have plantain chips.
Oh, and brushing teeth. You forgot that. With the stem.
That's all.
We
use the. Okay, you didn't grow up in a village, I can see.
You can see.
Is it a alien to you, right?
So the plantain, and then you use charcoal.
Charcoal.
To brush your teeth. And now it's big in America. Charcoal. People use
I know that.
We've had this since.
But we didn't.
But Daniel said it was villager things.
Do you get it? We now we have plantain chips.
So does it come down to marketing? Because obviously,
is it marketing?
I don't know, but I don't think it's just a matter of marketing.
I think it's a mindset.
Exactly.
We've been brainwashed to think it's only when it comes from the outside. That is when it has value.
That's good for us.
Because there are things people are doing in this country, which we know, Charlie, this thing be jet. But we won't really give any props to it till somebody from outside comes and does the same exact thing. And we're like, oh, look at that guy. But we'll never give, the credit to the guy who started here. There are so many examples we can give. So many. So I think it's the mindset.
So you can continue with a mindset that thinks that we have cocoa, so that's it. We produce 22% of cocoa, so that's it. Do you get it? You can continue with that kind of mindset and progress. Well, we produce cocoa. Some people are using it for chocolate, and so we are not getting much of the value. So what can we do? What else can we do with cocoa, for instance?
So let me just play the devil's advocate over here. I know Ghana also has one of and you said this, one of the best human resource, Charlie. You can think of yourself included.
Hands down.
Ebenezer Offei Ansah. Yourself included.
No doubt about
it.
that.
And we like to think me and J2 we are inside.
So we are inside. Me and inside.
You two are inside. So with all that human resource capital we have, why can't we think of these, innovative ways to put to use all the natural resources God has blessed us with? What is going on?
So exactly. Talking about human resource, recently I was fighting with people on Facebook who were saying that the only things that Ghana lacks is leadership and then common sense. And I was like, come on, are you telling me Ghanaians don't have common sense?
It's debatable.
That I can never accept, because, man, let me tell you, everywhere that I have been, that I've met people from different places, Ghanaians stand tall.
Ghanaians stand tall, but you see,
So,
let me just say this: we have common sense, but you have to enforce people, or you have to force people to use that common sense. The thing with that is, we have the common sense. I believe Ghanaians are very smart.
Yeah,
but
we are smart.
We don't put in place systems to force them to use it.
Yeah, so it's two ways. I agree with you.
So that still comes down to the leadership.
It's two ways. You have to put things in place to force people to do things. But you can also think of it from the angle of taking things that impede people from using the common sense. Do you get it? They are similar, but they are two different things. You're talking of putting things in place. Okay, we also have to recognize the fact that there are certain things that actually impede, and so for those things we have to take them away. One of those things is what we are talking about here, that endowment mentality. That, for instance, if someone is looking for a job with Cocoa Board, it is not because that person is coming to Cocoa Board or coming to Ghana's cocoa industry with some new ideas of how we can change the story.
It's
the mindset that money day Cocoa Board, make a go look for some. They lie.
True. You're right.
That's my problem with this kind of misconception that we carry around.
Could it also be that the people with the ideas are not being given the opportunity, to showcase?
I mean, that debate is there, but let's try and
that's a huge debate.
Let's try and draw the line well. That debate is there, but that's the other side.
Because unless
you are not agreeing with what I just said.
No, I agree. I agree.
So but it comes down to politics.
I mean, we'll get to the.
Politics, not us in the government level, because there's politics everywhere, even in churches. There's politics. So it comes down to politics. Who sort of
those kinds
who
of
knows
things.
you thing to get you in there, whether you have what it takes or not.
But the point is, this issue I talked about. If you will agree with me, it doesn't stop at any point. It cuts across. It's with everyone. Those that have powers and those that don't. Everybody, for instance, trying to get into Cocoa Board, the average person is going with that kind of mentality that I'm talking about here, that endowment kind of mentality. There is money, we have money in cocoa, there is money at Cocoa Board. So once I get employment with Cocoa Board, even if it's just a cleaner at Cocoa Board, I'm okay.
It's not what I'm bringing on board.
Exactly.
You're right.
It's just how I want to get there.
For me, when I talk about this, our problem with resource endowment misconception and mentality, that is where I'm trying to hit at. The situation in which it puts us and limits us from wanting to do more. Do you get it? Someone is looking for employment in the gold mining industry, not because they have done some mining engineering and have done some groundbreaking research and have some knowledge that they want to go and sell to the mining industry. The average person, unless you want to disagree with me, is going in there because they know that there is money in that industry.
Charlie, you talk that. You talk that. It's true. I get it.
The second reason why this to me is a problem, and that's, I know, is the place where you and I will disagree a lot, is the way the same endowment mentality puts us in a situation where we overemphasize the problem of our leaders and corruption.
Hold that thought. Let's go back to this. I mean, you mentioned there are two sides of this story. We just finished with one. The other side is literally what you just said. Literally, I mean, Charlie, how long have we been mining gold?
Too long.
Cocoa.
Inside.
All our resources.
Yeah.
And this is where I agree with him with what you're saying. I don't have facts to back this, but it's always been painted that Africa has the most resources of all the continents, right? But Charlie, we started depleting these resources, and resources are finite. It doesn't appreciate. It's just there. It's sitting there. And we start depleting these resources, Charlie. Yes, centuries now. You can't still be thinking that you still have the same thing sitting there waiting for you.
This is what UAE found out, and then instead of focusing all their resources on petroleum, they diverted and
into tourism.
So right now, most of their money, or most of what they are making, is coming from tourism. It's
exactly.
Really
so they don't have to sit
oil.
and wait for it to hit them in their face that now you don't have oil. We've moved on to something else. Or even if you don't have oil, like you get to the point where you don't have oil, maybe there will be a new invention. There will be a substitute for oil.
Something.
And then what happens to you?
They are coming.
Like even in the States.
Are you getting the point?
In the States, they realize that they cannot be taking oil from the ground every single time.
Exactly.
So now there's something called shale. And that's where they take the oil from. And shale is something in the oil industry that they actually disregard because they know that they cannot get too much from that. So now in the States, they do, if it's not fracking, it's probably cracking. Where they fracking, they take it from the shale and it gets the extra 2% that the normal petroleum industries all around in Africa would not even look at.
Exactly.
And
so
there is biofuel. I mean, people are going all over the place. There is biofuel. So
exactly. I actually did a research on biofuel.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So these guys, the Arabs you're talking about, they've thought about this well ahead, in time, and then they are saying that we have to find an alternative for all this revenue we are currently making before it gets to the end.
The thing about Ghana, I'm not talking about Africa because I don't know what's happening in other places.
Yeah.
The thing about Ghana is, listen, how long have you been driving on that motorway?
Chaplains.
How long? See the time and build a motorway. But the thing is, we don't want to move forward and do better things. We just want to maintain and just keep that record. Like,
Nobody is thinking. Nobody is trying to move whatever we have now to the next level.
And the funny thing is, it comes back to our human resource. We've got so much human
resource. What do you think we have? Now I'm going to say think.
Well, we do have, Derek. We do have.
You see, the problem is, it's the same thing like you're saying that. If we keep thinking we have the resources and we are actually not building, adding value and all these things, we are still going to remain in the same place. If we think we have the human resources and the capacity, I don't think we should be where we are.
No,
we should not.
I think it's still the same thing we are talking about.
There is a difference between not having the human resources, for instance, and not being able to utilize the human resources for reasons A, B, C, D. Do you get it? So
but I mentioned capacity.
I wouldn't say that
there may be, and we have the human resource, but maybe we don't necessarily have the capacity
and probably the right environment.
Environment is the right word to use.
Do you get it?
Environment is the right word because we have so many people out there who want to come back.
Why I do agree with that. I'll explain it to you.
No, let me tell you. There's so many people want to come back. There's this guy called Sangudele. He has done so much, not just for Ghana but for Africa. But the thing is, he is still struggling to find a firm feet in Ghana because the environment is not right. Mentality is not right.
Yeah.
Politics, in quote, is not right. We want to move so many things forward. I mean, he has a meeting in less than an hour, but then he's stuck in traffic. Something he has. This is not his doing.
Wake up early, man.
Still, if not him getting there late, other people will get there late.
Do you know why I'm saying this? I feel Africa, Charlie, we are the luckiest continent on earth. I say this because I'm talking about now. In the past, we were not so lucky or whatever it is, but now, given that most or all of these, let me say most continents have already developed, that serves as some sort of a blueprint to do whatever it is that
it sounds good, but to me it's debatable.
So
it's
debatable. Derek, so it's good that you point that out. Now we have those countries ahead of us, those continents ahead of us, and they serve as blueprints. And so, looking at it in one direction, I agree with you. We are lucky. Looking at it from one direction,
all the mistakes they had to make to get it right. We just have to take the blueprint and just work on it.
But Derek,
even
Derek, if you put it the other way,
Yeah.
That to me is one of the very important elements we need in our conversation, but we don't bring. We should put it the other way. Where, for instance, when the Swiss were trying to build an economy around, say, chocolate, there was nobody to fight them. While now the US is doing well, it has Mondelez and the rest, and they are also doing very well in the chocolate industry. But it's because the US had used other means to become a world power, and so he could do that. You can look at so many other examples. These guys, when they were building those industries and those sectors that made them who
sort
they
of a
are,
monopoly, they were just
they
doing
didn't.
it.
So if you look at it, if you look at the situation you are describing in the opposite way, there is so much that we need to be thinking and talking about in that we don't do, and that's one of our problems.
Good. Now let me just chip in on that. I understand that, and I think you're 100% right. Competition from the outside world, and because they have more money than
they are powerful.
They are powerful. They can tell you, don't do this, embargo this, that. You can't do it. But look, check this out. And I think Nanado is trying to do that, where immediately he took power, he was trying to visit all these African countries, trying to get Africa to do business with Africa and stuff like that. But you see, charity. I
don't know if you know we agreed on the free trade. We did the free trade thing.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but it's not.
Regardless of all the.
But it's not with all the African countries
and stuff.
Is it with all the African countries?
No, some of them are not in there, but now we have it.
Which is great news. Yeah. But they've always taught us since we were kids, charity begins at home.
Yeah.
Why don't we start doing business with ourselves? Okay, now chocolate. So I'll pick the Swiss with chocolate and stuff like that. The Swiss, they are reigning in chocolate business right now. So of course they are going to have a problem with you when it comes to chocolate. So why can't we start something with ourselves? Say,
within Ghana.
Within Ghana.
Okay.
Let's pick chocolate, and let's say we are going to believe in what we have as a people. There's Golden Tree now. Nech has joined in. Nech Cocoa, and I know it's 100% owned Ghanaian. I know him. So Golden Tree, they were doing what they could do. Nech has come in with nice branding and stuff like that. And I think by doing that, we can grow. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will believe in you. So if we start something where we believe in our product, and then we start putting it out there, then I think people will start buying into it. An example is Star. You think you drink Star in Ghana, go to Nigeria. You know this?
Yeah.
Everybody drinks Star in Nigeria, and I didn't know that until I got there.
Really?
Yeah, because those times, then we didn't drink Star. I don't know how far Club has got into, but Star.
Yeah.
Those times as we make life brighter with Star and stuff, we believed in Star. Everybody was drinking Star.
Yeah.
And that was the time we had great relationship with Nigeria. People going in and out of Nigeria.
But it's still there. Are you getting my point? So I think we need to start from home. What you're saying is right. I mean, once you want to start pushing things, and not even when you want to start pushing things, because those guys, they can spot things a mile away, and they know maybe you're trying to build a superpower chocolate factory or beer industry or whatever.
Western countries.
Yeah. They can spot a mile away, and then they'll start doing things that to safeguard what they're doing. But I think we still should start from home.
Yeah, but
and that's the mentality we need to have.
And in addition to that, we need an additional angle to our national dialogues and our conversations that will help us overcome the challenges in doing that. I think we have already even talked enough about how we have to create value and how we have to do more with what we have and those kinds of things. But I don't know if you'll agree with me. One point or one direction that people don't really talk about in these discussions is the fact that we are competing. Okay? And unfortunately, we don't have a very favorable position in that competition landscape. We need to acknowledge that. Okay, and make that part of our conversations, make that part of our strategies. You can't just sit down and say that you are niche, you want to venture into the cocoa business, the chocolate business, without paying attention to all of these things, without making these things explicit in your marketing, in your things that you are saying to people.
For Niche, I know a bit about them, so I know what he's doing. Niche wasn't Niche always. Niche was CPI, which is sold. CPI made cocoa paste and exported under free zones. Okay, so he was successful with that, and now he's trying a new product, which is now Niche, and they are into other products.
And it's still chocolate.
Yeah, it's still chocolate, but I'm saying that this is just a new line. There's a bigger picture to what you see. I get to my point. So just go.
Yeah. So the point is, if we continue to live in our own world when it comes to these kinds of conversations, and putting our resource endowment talks into perspective, because after all, the development that we are yearning for, it's because we can see some in US, it's because we can see some in the UK, it's because we can see things in China which was similar to us not too long ago.
Charlie, let me ask a question. So, do we necessarily need to develop like these guys? Can't we have development in our own context?
That's also another debate. Make sense. But you will agree with me that,
and that ties in with something we are going to talk about today, Guru Boys.
Yeah. We can think of development in our own ways, such that, for instance, if we think of a technology out there or any service out there, we want to say, okay, this is good, but how can we make it so that it fits
into our system? That's what I'm talking about.
But we still can't take away the fact that it's because we saw something like that there that we want to do a similar thing that fits to us. We still can't take that away. It's a fact. That's the fact. We are looking up to some people. Do you get it? So we can't talk about our resource endowment and how they should contribute to we getting to that point without bringing in those guys that we are looking at and what they also mean when we are talking about those resources. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
I get it. And I think we need to get into the next thing. But
so that second aspect that I was talking about, for instance, when it comes to our resource endowment, there is the aspect of those things that we indeed have that we misconceptualize and we overvalue and those kinds of things. There's another aspect where the things that we think we have, let me put it that way. There are things we think we have that we actually don't have, or there are places we think we are that we actually are not. One is particular to my own field, agriculture. If you move around Ghana, especially rural Ghana where most of our agriculture is done, and I bet even a little bit outside of our agricultural zones into the average population, if you ask people, there is this idea out there that Africa, Ghana, we do very much when it comes to agricultural production. I don't know if you will agree with me.
I know better, so I don't agree. I know better, so I don't agree.
But do you agree that that is a misconception?
It is, yes.
People out there, especially when you go to our rural areas, people think that say bano a 4 year near there I know I need you chrome her.
Yes.
People have that.
I know.
And it's not true. Like you rightly said, it's not true. It's not true. You look at global agricultural trade, for instance, and it is only 5% of exports of agricultural produce that come out of Africa. And that 5%, and that Africa actually includes the guys up there who sometimes don't want to call themselves Africans. So if you reduce it to sub-Saharan Africa,
boss, what did they mean by the guys?
there are North Africans who don't want to consider themselves as Africans. I don't know if you are aware of that. If we take those guys out, and
but they still play AFCON.
If we take those guys out, because Egypt and the rest, they are quite big when it comes to those things. If we take those guys out and we limit it to sub-Saharan Africa, it's only actually less than 4% of trade in export in agricultural produce. So how then do we have that mindset out there that Africa, Ghana is better place for agriculture than other places? I sometimes wonder where.
I think people say that because of the prospects they are looking at. Do you understand? So they are projecting into the future, thinking that if Ghana applies this route, this is what might happen.
Yeah, but those are the learned people, right?
Yeah,
we are talking about the masses.
I mean, if you go to the masses,
the masses who don't know Jack.
I bet you there are people in our farming communities who, if you go and tell them that we import maize into this country, they will go heaven and hell to disagree with you. I'm telling you.
Oh, but the Agric minister said last year we didn't import any grain into the country. So maize into the country.
Well, so. I mean, but you know we import maize.
Honestly, we
import rice.
Matches, toothpicks.
You know we import rice. You know we import rice.
Rice there is a cartel.
You know we import tomato paste. I mean, look at our staple foods and tell me which one of them we are self-sufficient in.
I mean, I can understand what you're saying because a nation who brag, about agriculture. So that means we are looking at, if you think about it, you may think about maybe 70% of its citizens, or say 50% of its citizens are into agriculture, and we can't still even feed ourselves.
Exactly, Derek. That is where this problem is coming from, and that's why I'm saying that when it comes to this conversation, the angle that I believe we need to bring in is the fact that we are not living as a country in isolation. Okay, everything we are talking about is relative to what is happening elsewhere. Do you know where that misconception, for instance, is coming from? For a very long time, until recently, agriculture was the biggest contributor to our GDP.
Yeah.
Okay, it was giving us at some point over 50%. We came down. Now we are around 20%. 2022.
So what changed?
So it's because the other sectors are growing. Services is now the biggest, and then manufacturing is industry is number 2 before Agric, because those are that sectors.
Which kind of industry is that?
Industry, it includes the oil and gas,
so that's
the gold mining.
So because they've added oil now, then it changes everything.
It's not even on the same platform. You can't.
So that's just a matter of agriculture's contribution to GDP, like you talked about employment, for instance. Even up to today, when agriculture's contribution to GDP is just around the 20%, still there is some 50 to 60% of our workforce that is engaged in agriculture at least some way, somehow. Do you get it?
Yeah.
If you go to the rural areas, then it shoots up to 70-75%.
Yeah.
Now, that is where the problem comes from. People think that, Sagana baby abekubiya ekuya. Do you get it? So then we think that we are oboro when it comes to agriculture, forgetting about the fact that there are people elsewhere who we don't know about a lot, and we don't bring them into our conversation. Interestingly,
we do more for Cote d'Ivoire overtake we for cocoa. Same.
That one, it be
smuggling.
It was something we could do nothing about. It was the 83 bushfires. That was what brought us down.
You don't think it has anything to do with the smuggling?
No. It was the 83 bushfires. That was what took a lot of our cocoa farms down, and they overtook us, and we never has been able to catch up. It was the 83 bushfires. Yeah, and
Agric scientists.
You know the history.
Apart from the mere distraction, if your family had acres of cocoa and it was bent down, do you think that family will still be enthused to invest in cocoa again? So there are lots of families and people who had cocoa farms or had investment in cocoa farms that never got back into it. So apart from the physical distraction we got, that's also another aspect, and that's the reason why Cote d'Ivoire overtook us. It wasn't, I mean, when it comes to cocoa, even up till now, apart from the volumes, Ghana does much better than Cote d'Ivoire. Producer price, the quality, the premium that we get on the world market.
But do you think in Ghana we produce enough to store, so that just in case we have like a low yield, we go back into our banks and then
You mean for cocoa or
no
other-
for agricultural
other
produce.
crops? I mean, it's a no and a yes answer there.
Okay.
We produce enough such that we could have stored some in some places, but if we bring it to the national level, there are so many crops that we are actually, even when we look at our raw production record values, we are not self-sufficient in. So yes, there are parts of the country where tomatoes will go waste, whilst other parts of the country are starving for tomatoes. Do you get the point I'm making?
So after all this research we do, after all the school we go, can't we find a way to, store all these produce that go to waste every single year? Because the same thing can be processed and then used back in our kitchens.
Yeah, so those conversations are some of the things that I personally believe that it's just a matter of time. Okay.
Charlie, that baby.
I shock say.
No.
That baby.
No. For instance, let's still stick with tomatoes as an example.
Because I think the most basic thing is working as a bank. You have money. You have a bank where you can store everything. Why? Just in case anything happens, and then you go back to your reserve and then redistribute the money. Because I think that's the most basic thing you can do when it comes to food. To store and give back when you have a low yield.
Yeah, it's easier to think of it as very basic things, but these again are also very basic infrastructural needs that we have. And if you will agree with me, it comes with investment, and we don't have the money. That's a fact. These are basic things, but we don't have the money to do them.
It's not that we don't have the money, but it's that we don't pump the money into that sector.
That's what I'm saying. There's a good segue for what we were actually trying to talk about.
Okay.
Now, you and this is what we disagree on. Leadership. And with regards to what we are talking about. Now, you have the idea that leaders should be allowed to do certain things, and I say no. They need to be held accountable for stuff and whatnot. For example, when we talk about corruption, yeah, you made mention of the fact that the gold industry give us
1.7. It's only 1.7% of the value that we get.
1.7 of the value that we get. So 90 whatever percent is gone, right? Which I do agree, it's gone. So we should be looking for ways to try and salvage that situation. How can we get part of the 90 whatever percent?
At least
back
a bit
to us?
more.
But
That's a lot.
that's a lot. That's a lot of money that we are losing.
I mean, that's a lot to get back.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it, given that most of the technology we use in
not for us,
deriving the gold is not for us, and somebody actually sat down to sign that contract, and it's a contract, it's binding. Well, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
I mean, we can find ways and means about it, but if the little we have, we cannot use it wisely, prudent, then why are we in the first place trying to go get more money? Because if the small one said we did chop, you understand? And he made mention of the fact that maybe the person is just chopping 0.5 out of the 1.7.
Still money.
It's still money.
Derek. So
it's still money.
Let me make 3 points. First of all, let me put the conversation in context. When we talk about that 1.7% of the value of gold that we get versus the 98.3 that's going out there, it's not as though I personally don't agree with some of the arguments that try to sometimes portray it as though it is multinationals and big countries that are stealing from us necessarily. Fine, yeah, that element is in there, but it's also a fact that if you go into it, that is what reflects the true value of the entire industry. So again, it comes back to the point I was making earlier on, that we can't continue to just be thinking of gold as in gold. You get it? Whilst someone is out there using its resources, its universities, its professors to research into the technology that you use to mine gold. Do you get it? That is an expensive venture. The mere fact that gold lies under your land doesn't mean a lot. Do you get it? Who manufactures gold mining, what do you call it, machines in Ghana? Do you get it? So when I talk about that, it's not to necessarily give credit to those kinds of ideas that people are stealing from us necessarily. That's the first point I wanted to make. When I talk about the remaining 1.7% and our issue of corruption and the fact that we don't have to blame our leaders, I mean two things. One, the money that our politicians and our big men are stealing. Okay.
Oh, yes. So you agree then it takes something? Or allegedly?
Oh, I mean, they steal. They steal money.
Not allegedly.
They steal money. People steal money.
It's not the fact.
I mean, who doesn't know it? People steal money.
I mean, you don't mention this.
People steal money everywhere. It's not only in Ghana. It's not only in Africa. Leaders and big men and even you and I, small boys and girls down there, when we get the chance, people steal money. Now, one of the reasons why I say we can't blame our politicians and corruption is that, one, the money that they steal, yes, they take some out, buy properties and things out there. But that money they steal that we talk about corruption. What we have forgotten to say is that that is still part of the value we have as a country. That money we say they steal, it is still in this country. It is part of what we use to calculate our GDP.
Yo, man, and that is where, Charlie, I strongly disagree. Because, you see...
Offshore havens, so...
No, I mean, so we are not talking about the ones they invest outside. Although, let me just go into that a bit.
Invest safe.
If I have $5 million just sitting in my account and I hear, Charlie, Dubai is popping, real estate, of course I'm going to get a property over there and then try and get some returns. It's an investment, right? Good. So that's one part of it where they take the money outside. And some just like seeing money sitting in their bank account offshore and smile. That's also cool. But we are talking about the ones they invest here. I'm saying that over time, previously when you get some corruption money, you go to your hometown, build a big house. Where you live, it's a big house, you buy a nice car and stuff like that. I'm not saying people are not doing that still, but they've moved away a bit from it. Now people are becoming more knowledgeable. They understand investments and returns and stuff like that. They are trying to make more money. Because money works, right? You can't go and put money into a building. Of course it's appreciating, but if your building is worth $1 million and half of Ghanaians or 3/4 of Ghanaians can buy $1 million house, then are you trying to get what I'm saying? Let me make the point. All I'm saying is, if somebody gets ill-gotten money, if somebody has that money, he doesn't relate to the struggles of the young entrepreneur.
No, it doesn't. No.
So in Ghana now, I'm not saying there are no entrepreneurs. There are entrepreneurs who are still trying to make it happen. Yeah. Right. So people go extra lengths and then they are trying to kick off some startup. They have challenges. Now, the politician or whoever who is engaged in this corruption gets about $1 million. He starts up something and all of a sudden it's booming. What it means is you need extra cash to actually sustain a startup business. You can't start like Kojo thought from zero and build up, especially now in Ghana. It's almost impossible. I'll say almost because people have done it. It's almost impossible. So that politician or that guy engaged in corruption who has money to do business and not feel it, when he goes to parliament where they are supposed to make favorable laws for entrepreneurs, how is he going to understand the plight of the young entrepreneur actually going through it? Exactly. Because he has all this money he didn't really toil for. Are you getting my point? So yes, it's adding to the GDP. It's adding to the GDP, but he is not actually doing why we sent him there to do, like what we sent him there to do. So,
Derek,
we could have had more.
Derek, I agree with you.
Are you getting my point?
I agree with you. We could have had more.
We could have had like 5 more entrepreneurs doing the same thing.
Exactly, but now we have only you because you have the money. Corruption-wise,
we could have had more. I completely agree with you. Maybe I don't know if you probably haven't gotten the point I'm trying to make entirely. I'm not saying that there is no corruption in Ghana, in Africa. I'm not saying that corruption is not a problem.
Even entrepreneurs or challenge.
I am saying the point I'm trying to make is that the state we find ourselves in and the things we want to do that we haven't been able to do, we can't blame it on corruption. We can't blame it on leaders.
Why? That's because what I don't get. Why can't we blame it on leaders?
One, because it is not only in Ghana and in Africa that there are leaders who are stealing money from the state.
Yo, have you heard this joke before where one Nigerian went to Russia and went to a statesman's house and there was a mansion, and then the guy said, "Oh, how did you build it?" And I said, "You see that road over there, 10% here." I'm coming. I'm just saying something. That statesman from Russia flies back to Nigeria, sees a heavy mansion and says, "How did you build it?" And say, "You see that road over there, 100% here." The guy looked, there was no road there. That's what we are talking about.
No, Derek.
They are sort of corruption.
Derek,
you see, if you go do the job,
Derek,
where you go take some. Cool.
Derek.
But these niggas know they do shit.
Derek.
That's the problem.
Sometimes you have to realize that, again, like I have kept saying, we live in a world. We don't live in isolation. We are competing with people. When I say people, I mean countries. Okay.
Western countries.
And you have to agree, whether you like it or yes, that some of these things that, for instance, this example you just made, for instance, some of these things are actually propaganda messages that people are using. Okay.
Yo, man.
No, it's a fact.
You will talk this thing for you.
No, there is no.
Reason, yes, he said a real story about this whole oil and gas industry.
It's a fact. Okay, it is. You can't. Unless
this government, this term.
Derek, I'm telling you that when it comes to these issues around corruption and how Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, the rest have been painted to ourselves and to the world, you can't take away that propaganda you can't take away the propaganda aspect of it.
Oh, but Charlie, you and I, we are discerning. So let's give ourselves that credit. We are speaking to issues.
Yeah.
Right. So we are not doing blanket or generalized, whatever.
Let me tell you why I'm not generalizing it. Let me tell you, it is not only in Nigeria, for instance, where big men are living in big mansions.
We've done a confirm here.
Wait. It is not only in It is not only in Nigeria.
And the nigga is just walking around like nothing happened.
People, because of power and money, have poisoned people in Flint in the United States.
I know.
So how is that different when it comes to corruption and bad behavior on the side of leaders? How is that different from someone buying a confirm and then they disappearing?
I'll explain to you. Because to me, I believe you cannot advance when you don't have an opponent. I don't compare myself with a person who has his worse off. I compare with somebody who's got it better than me, so that I can actually work towards something.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing.
No. So
and pride myself. At least drink water.
No,
that's not what I'm talking about.
No, but Derek, why do we want to talk about the US? Okay, when we are talking about the good things and things that we want to aspire to, okay, but we don't want to talk about them when it comes to the bad things that we say we are doing, and we want to find comparisons with them.
Them niggas, and they way ahead of you.
No. So that's why I have a problem.
How do you have a problem with
that? Because
do you know what those guys do?
Wait.
Pro-choice,
Wait, Derek.
Because you are satisfied. That's what I'm thinking about.
Derek, wait. Let me make a point. And that was the next point I had written here. You know the reason why I have a problem with that? Negative energy. It is one of our biggest problems in our part of the world. To me, if you want me to count our problems, I will count it as the number one. Negative energy.
Pulling down syndrome.
Negative energy. Fine, you might think that because US is doing well, because UK is doing well, we got no business talking about their problems, because who cares? They are doing well.
Yeah, that's debatable. But
my point is, for how long are we going to live with that? Because I did a poll on Facebook recently. Let me put it to you guys. When you hear of issues of corruption, when you hear of issues of corruption and how people are embezzling funds, be frank with yourself. And I'll ask the question in two ways. I'm first asking it to you. When I finish, I'll ask it to what you think about the general public. When you hear of corruption, what is your first or your general attitude? Do you see yourself as feeling worried and disappointed in those guys and wishing to be there so you don't do what they did and set a good example, or that you are like you hearing of corruption makes you want to say like, the way people are chopping,
me too for chop some.
me too for chop some? What do you think?
Honestly,
Honestly, what do you think?
Honest
yeah.
answer. Okay. A few years back, I want chop some. I don't go lie. A few years back, I want chop some.
But now you
Now,
are. Thank you.
I've changed my thinking.
What do you think?
Me, I'll say honestly, it is what it is.
Where do you find yourself?
Corruption is corruption. Let me say I could chop some, but corruption is corruption. But the thing is,
the question is straightforward.
Chop some, I don't go chop some.
Where do you typically find yourself? Is it that I wish I was there so that I could do differently, or
You go chop some, I don't go chop
master
some.
people they chop, make a chop some? I mean, if it be something outside of these two, you can also say it.
no. See, the thing is, me 2 years ago, like I go talk, so I go chop some.
Okay.
Because,
Right now,
I see.
Now, let me ask the same question. But right now, think of it for the general public, the average person.
Everybody want chop some.
Exactly.
Everybody want chop some.
So that's my problem with that kind of
It's still the chop.
that state of mind that we live with when it comes to our leaders, our politicians, our big businessmen, and the issue of corruption. For me, my point is, it's not as though there is no corruption. It's not as though there is no stealing of money. But one, honestly, when we look at the figures and blah blah blah, we can't blame even majority of our problems on those things. And two, if we continue to live with them like that, it creates negative energy in the system. Like you guys have rightly agreed with me. When we keep hearing and talking about those corruption, all we do is to breed more. When people hear about corruption, the majority of the people, it makes them want to be corrupt themselves. So, let's take it from our recent history. Papa J, President Rawlings, and even some others went to the extreme extent of killing people for corruption in this country. What did they change? No, what did they change? On average, what did the killings we only 2 days ago marked June 4th? Tell me, on average, what did the killings that we did to people that we felt were chopping our money? What did they do to us?
As for that one there, when he say that, I kind of slightly agree with you, because the worst thing you can do to somebody is to kill him.
Yeah, and we have done that.
We've done that,
But
and it didn't change it.
We have exposed people.
So what's up?
We have imprisoned people. So my point is,
Hey, say we still go chop the money.
my point is,
Regardless.
you get it. So that's where I am coming from. I'm not saying that there is no corruption, but I want us to look at those things in different lights. Okay, let's think back. What has the talking and lambasting people for corruption? What has it done to us? What has it given us? Do you get the point? We've not gained much. We've gone to the extreme extent of killing people. We've burnt down people's properties. What has it done? When you ask
but we still don't stop, bro.
Yeah, right now I can bet that some people would say that even corruption then was at a minimal level than what we have here, than what we have right now.
But
so if we have gone that route, when things have not changed, why don't we want to consider maybe the opposite or something else? Why don't we want to consider,
and the opposite being
that let us stop placing emphasis on those guys and those things.
So we should just allow them to continue being corrupt.
Not allow them to continue being corrupt, okay? But then as we are putting in the systems and the institutions and measures in place to stop them, okay, let us stop highlighting them and making the average person think that is all that it's about when it comes to big men and leadership. And if you remember, one of the points I made in that essay was how we need to put some people in the limelight.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we are doing. Viewspodcast, Charlie, we pride ourselves, putting people on the map. Because like you, Charlie, what you're saying is dope, and I believe, Charlie, people are going to be enlightened about this. So that's exactly what we are doing. We put this nigga, what's his name? Nana Kofi Tego. Yeah. We've done Spec Shine. We are trying to put the positive aspect of this
our society and the people we have
limelight, so that people can emulate that.
Yeah.
So we are trying to do that.
And I'm glad these things are happening. I'm glad we are seeing these things. Except that I wish we could make it more
general,
more land. What's the word I want to use? More national, more at the macro level, where you can actually see that people have strategized to rethink the way we have our conversations around these issues, to rethink how we portray Ghana, to rethink the people we put the light on in Ghana.
You see, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just want to put this point across. Politicians are like religious men. Yeah. Allegedly. Let me say allegedly. Politicians are like religious men. That is men of God, right? Now, a man of God builds a church. People come, drop collection, right? He makes money, and now he starts a school or he starts some business. Now, typically, if you're an entrepreneur, you're supposed to, go through the struggle of raising the money, or maybe going to a bank, presenting a business plan and all that, getting a facility with interest on it. Now, this guy gets that money for free, sort of, quote unquote, right?
No tax, yeah.
Yeah, and then he builds this business. Now, a legal entity which can be taxed. So, there's this dude in the church who is struggling, always brings 50 pesos. Part of that 50 pesos goes into that big business the person has been able to build, which is employing people, right? It is employing people, maybe church members or stuff like that. But then that guy giving 50 pesos is still giving 50 pesos because he's poor. That's exactly what we are talking about. You see, this guy is getting free money off the people, and he's building a business, a legal business, and making more money out of that legal business. That's exactly what we are talking about. This guy makes money off corruption, allegedly. Right? Builds a legal business and makes more money. He's employing people. Yes, we know that. But that was free money.
That's free money coming in, yeah.
And that is the
cheap
wrong
labor.
That has to be right, or whatever they call it.
The wrong, that's the right.
You remember what they call. So I encourage, Charlie, people who are trying to do stuff, people who are trying to encourage, make money. Charlie, you make money. That's the end game. You making money and going back to your community inspires others that, oh, Charlie, this guy was able to make it. I can make it. Do you get what I mean? But you have to do it
legitimately.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
I'm not saying you're not going to cut deals. Business is all about deals. You need to be smart. You need to be book smart and street smart to make it in this thing called business. So you're going to cut deals here and there. I get it. But I'm saying you can't be making money off taxpayers' money and building a business.
So what you're saying is we shouldn't call it corruption. No, because corruption be what we know. That be what politicians they do.
Yeah.
But right now you're saying we should go into business and cut deals, which is low key called corruption.
No, bro, let me tell you something. Even in America, legalize corruption, they call lobbying.
So change the name.
Allegedly.
So honestly, that's the point I was trying to make, part of it, half of it was that we need to rethink how we talk about our ways of life. Okay. One, like you just pointed out, lobbying versus bribery, and they have another thing they call tips in the US, for instance. Let me use that as an example.
We are coming to the growth and
not yet.
Okay.
Let me use the issue of tips, for instance. See, in Ghana here, okay, we find it difficult that you've gone to someone who is offering a service, okay, and then whether it is before or after the person rendered the service, you give the person something outside of what you are supposed to pay for the service, okay, to encourage you getting some good services.
Yeah.
And to put it in context with the tips thing I want to compare with.
Can we pay some dues?
Sure.
Let's pay some dues. The conversation they be.
It just
The conversation they be. Again, this podcast is brought to you by the betrayal of the perfect venue for your perfect occasion. Charlie, Jeffrey's outdooring is going down. I'll give you the dates. Weddings, fashion shows, town hall meetings, indoor outdoor facilities, AC on deck,
PA system on deck,
Charlie,
security on deck,
parking, secure parking on deck. Charlie, just book a tour with them. 0244926622, 0244926622, and then they can take care of your needs.
Yeah.
Secondly, Midindi Hotel, the perfect boutique hotel for the business traveler.
Home away from home.
Home away from home, man. I mean, Charlie, if you come here, then they deal with you on first name basis. Can you imagine?
But we don't talk about the signature show.
Charlie, the Friday, I'm the chicken wings. God damn it. God damn it.
They get fried rice and chicken wings for you.
Fried yam.
They get fried yam.
It ain't pop, bro. Yeah, man, Charlie. So boutique, Midindi Hotel is a boutique hotel for you to be home away from home. They have excellent conferencing facilities. One of which we actually do in this podcast.
Yeah,
that's our venue.
That's one of many.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough for them to Charlie give you. And the chill AC and Charlie. So yeah, if you have any conference, is it bed and breakfast? Are you having a wedding? You want to move away from home?
Or you just want to run away from the hustle and bustle,
stress, man. Because you see
the traffic.
The beauty about Midindi Hotel is it's a hideout in the city.
Yeah.
How often do you get that?
Nah,
never.
You dare no see under, but you don't know.
You never know. You will drive past that. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's a
place to be, man. You need to.
It's a place to be, and they have international standards.
Yeah, they might put to the B.
Charlie, today be clear. Charlie, contact them on 0302770007, 0302770007, and Charlie, they will hook you up, man.
Yeah, that's the lotto number.
The lotto number. We go cut out.
Need to be holiday.
Charlie, let's go on, Mr. Offei.
Yeah. So the point I was trying to make, for instance, if you look at the tips culture in the US. They will talk about it as though it doesn't really mean anything beyond you appreciating the services that you've been rendered.
Yeah.
But to be honest, at least in my experience, it means a lot. For instance, there is a bar that I used to frequent around where I live in East Lansing. And I mean, when I went there initially, I didn't know about this tips culture, and I didn't really understand it, especially coming from our own ways of doing things.
Hit you hard.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
So, after some time, I realized that the way bartenders would treat you, you go stand at the bar and it looks like you've not been noticed, you never get served, people will be served, people that came to meet you at the bar will be served, and you'll still be standing there for a while. I didn't really know that it could be from that. I thought that, well, maybe it's one of those, they are discrimination things, their racial racism things they have out there, and those kinds of things. But it was later that I realized that it actually has to do with tipping. Because, I mean, like I said, I didn't see the need to tip. And even when I tip, when I'm out there initially, I'll give you $1. And that's it.
That's plenty more. That's like $5 Ghana.
Yeah, you get the point. You get the point.
But apparently the tipping not be so.
Meanwhile, it's a thing out there such that if bartenders realize that you come and you don't tip, even though that's not what they are supposed to be doing, some people actually will be giving you attitude the next time when they realize that you don't tip. And this is something that everybody knows out there. But nobody wants to talk about it. They want to make it look as though it's tipping. Meanwhile, if we do it here in Ghana, such that if you frequent an office and you don't do the receptionist or the secretary good, you go and they don't pay attention to you, then we make noise out of it. And then we call it corruption. And then we say that if you go to people's offices and you don't put things on your envelope, your things will fly away, blah, blah, blah. Talking about it in the negative.
But that's a different environment, isn't it?
Thank you, bro.
No. Like I said, I'm just using it as an example. But if you look at the two concepts, it's very similar.
It's
me going to Derek.
I get it.
Me coming to a bar and not tipping you, and so next time I have to come and stand at the bar and you serve 3, 4, 5 more people who came to meet me at the bar. How different is that from me going to a receptionist or a secretary and he or she doesn't want to let me in to go and see the boss because when I come there I don't do him good or I don't do her good? How is that different?
Because now she's rendering a service and you need to tip her.
No.
That's what she's doing.
No, but what is serving me a drink? What is it?
Listen.
That's what I'm saying.
Her salary is tied in with a tip because they formalized it, right?
Exactly. So maybe that this will, when we are done with it, maybe it will lead us to that
the guru
boy thing. The whole thing is it's all about how you conceptualize things and how you regularize things.
But what we are saying is, for instance,
who in Ghana doesn't know that receptionists and secretaries, their salaries are not good? Who doesn't know?
Me, I don't know.
Oh. You dey shy me, you dey shy me. You shall say you know the joke. Say receptionist, watchmen, then people their salary no good compared to the people compared to the other people.
Our receptionist is the same as PAs.
I think it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
Okay, PAs win and they get money. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but
okay.
Don't we know? We know.
The go meeting.
We know relative to other people working in the same entity. These guys don't get paid well. That is the same concept out there when it comes to tipping service at the bar or bartenders. Do you get it? It's the same concept. Blah blah blah. They don't get paid well, and so they have to be tipped because it's part of the money they get. Bullshit. It's the same thing we have here.
And that's a great segue.
But the way it's conceptualized, the way we talk about it, then it makes us our own and our ways of doing things negative. And then, unfortunately, back to my point, it creates that negative energy in society, which to me harms us a lot. You can't thrive with negativity. Even with our personal lives, we keep hearing people telling us that surround yourself with positive vibes, surround yourself with positivity. We can't thrive as a nation whilst wherever we go, it's all about negative energy.
I agree with that. I mean, in Ghana, if you make money, let's say you go chop blood money, or you do a pool, or
you be hardworking.
No, that hardworking.
The only people where they know you, the people where they will talk say you be hardworking be the people that know you.
Let me tell you something. If somebody comes to your office, or the person hears that you change job, you know the first thing they all talk about. Hey, now they get money.
Yeah.
They never think about the job that comes with the money. You get promotion. Hey, say you sikaba. But not the job, the responsibility.
The extra hours you
have to put in to get shit done. Nobody thinks about that. They all think about the money. And so before thinking about just the money part, but not the, because it's give and take. You have to give something to earn that money they are all looking at.
Yeah.
So you have to put in more hours now, more effort, more thinking, more intellectual property in there to make that money. They don't think about none of that.
No.
After that one day, Abi will give, they mean anything. The money not than they think about. Yeah. Now jealousy starts. That's why I mentioned witch. Because they say if you turn jealous, you are just an inch away from becoming a witch.
Somebody be jealous and somebody be witch. Different things.
We just want.
Let's more.
I get to my point.
Yeah.
And now they start hating on you. Now they start bad mouthing you and all those things. And now, even if you are not corrupt, you become corrupt. So I get your negativity thing you are talking about. That's what that one I argue with you entirely. The other one I don't. Which is fine. Yeah, you shouldn't agree on everything.
Was a good day,
but, I agree with that. But that creates a perfect segue for the Grow Boys thing you're talking about. This tips that thing you're talking about. It's like America has recognized the fact that we don't pay waitresses well.
Yeah.
So when you chop, you have to tip them a percentage of whatever.
But like what, 20%, right?
No, I mean it's not as though you have to. But
it's like
it's become the culture. It's become the
norm. Because they don't tip the next time like you went, they didn't serve you. So it's almost like
it's not even the I've forgotten the term for it. The punishment you get, the shaming. It's not only from even the bartender, even your co-customers.
Yeah.
If you go to a restaurant and you are getting up and the next table people don't see a tip on your table, the kinds of looks you get, you get it. Yeah, you give money to a bartender, he or she brings you change, you take all of your change away, the next person standing to you, the way they look at you. So I mean, it's part of them.
Or for the UK, then they call them service charge, which is almost the same thing.
Yeah, some places they when you go to some restaurants and they give you your receipt, and it's actually a part of it, tips, and then they indicate 20%, 15%, 10%.
They told you that you have to pay this. Are you getting my point? But
almost.
It's like they've accepted that. Look, we are not going to pay these guys well. It's up to you to give them some money to fill it. Not by law. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But what we are trying to say is they have accepted. So they've created a formalized sort of system to take care of those people. Now, me and this man, we've had this conversation before. And subsequently, I think I had that conversation with you. Guru Boys. Our very own Guru Boys.
One and only.
Who we find all over the place.
All over the place. It's not just DVLA. It's everywhere. Guru Boys Day everywhere.
DVLA, passport office, registered general department,
RGDM, wherever. Guru Boys Day everywhere. You know.
Because the market's day for them.
The market day for them. But then DVLA comes out and then they say, Charlie, we are going to get rid of these guys. We are going to make sure our system works. We are going to create a premium department where, Charlie, if you want it fast, then you get it. Now, the thing is, you see, I always have a problem with that. When we always want to play by the book. You see, during our conversation, I mentioned the fact that can't we develop in our own context something that relates to us as a people? Now, whether you like it or yes, which you said, Go Boys are part of us. That is a source of employment. It is a job. Whether it's regulated or not, or whether there's an employer or not, it is a job.
Yeah.
People go there every day. They wake up early in the morning, take a shower, go there, work, come back home, make some money, give their families. It is a job. Exactly. You don't just get up one day and say, look, fuck these niggas. We are doing it a different way.
It turned from jobs to be livelihood.
Are you getting the point?
Because they have to live on this money.
How do you expect these guys to live now? Now that you've taken that livelihood away, how do you expect them to live? Can't you do it a better way? Perfect example. Mr. Michigan just told us. Mr. Ebenezer Offei Ansah. I'm just kidding with him. He just told us that in the US, they've actually sort of formalized tipping. So, if you, Jay, you figure say you get money, you are busy.
I'm not saying money.
You know, say you get money, you are busy. You can't go and stay in the queue and go through all that wahala, the DVLA trying to renew your license and all that. You call some guru boy who will come.
No, relax, Seth. You go call DVLA because you know that's a formal system that provides you all the
I'm
service.
setting it up. I'm setting it up.
Okay.
But I'm glad he made that point. It means a lot to me.
I'm setting it up. So you call this guru boy because you know I'm or your party link you. He comes to your office. Look at the service. He takes Okada or car, comes to your office, take all your particulars, whatever
Documents, yeah.
and then he takes it to the place.
Straight to
and then
DVLA.
that's everything. Maybe the only thing will be left with your signature, and so he calls you. So you just pop in, picture, signature, pack. You go back, and then in the comfort of your office or home, they bring you back your
license.
Your license. Isn't that service?
A service, but what I was trying to say is DVLA doesn't offer that service.
So if there are guru boys doing this, why can't you formalize that?
Exactly.
And take taxes from them.
That's what these guys do. Karina, they do that thing.
Yeah,
because Karina know that they provide cakes to you, but they don't do delivery service.
So
they leave it to the third party to do the service for them. Everybody is making money. Everybody's happy.
All I'm saying is, do we always have to do things a certain way because the book says it's supposed to be done this way?
Not really.
Why do we want to do that to ourselves?
Not really. And the funny thing too is, I mean, this is going way back into our conversation earlier on, but it still comes to the fact that we are learning, or we are taking the wrong things from these Western countries because they have a different history.
It's not wrong. It's right. We are just applying it wrongly.
Exactly, because they have a different history from what we have.
Man.
They gained whatever they gained a long time ago.
But Charlie, we say we get intellectual capacity.
That'd be the way to.
But we can't even translate it into our own context.
They've made all the mistakes then for make. We're just building up on their correct. You know, like whatever they've done, the correct things they've done.
Why can't you formalize Guru Boys, form an agency on behalf of DVLA?
We have to look at our background
Find
and work on this.
for these guys.
Let
them provide a service they've already been provided.
Exactly.
Still keep them in employment, and then you levy taxes on them. How is this difficult?
Yeah,
I'm not the best. Shall we say, I'm not the best weed in the dispensary. So you know they see.
I mean, money there inside. This is just extra money for DVLA, for the government of Ghana, and for Ghanaians as well.
Value. Why can't you see the value?
So it's very easy to think about and conceptualize, and like you said, we've had this conversation around these Guru Boys issues, and one thing, like Jay was trying to say, there are two ways we can look at this.
Yeah.
We have people who we call an informal sector, okay, and we can either pull those guys into the formal sector or formalize them. If you formalize something that was informal, it has become part of your formal things you have.
Yeah, man.
Interestingly, all we've been trying to do in many instances is to rather
get rid of them.
No, draw people into the formal system or draw services into the formal system instead of formalizing them out there. That's one of the problem I think we have. For instance, if we think of this passport office, this DVLA things we are using, for example, we want to, as much as possible, be able to do all these things as DVLA or as passport office. We want to be able to computerize things so that we don't need Guru Boys. We want to be able to do all the things as passport office, as DVLA. The point is, it's not always necessary to have it that way. You don't always have to come to DVLA to do things that have to do with your license. you don't always have to come to passport office to do things that have to do with, or you don't have to go to an online system of passport office to do things.
This just came in mind. Didn't DVLE just outsource roadworthiness to other people?
They do have that. They do have those
I
services.
mean, they're doing it. They've been doing it for a while.
So
Isn't the same thing?
So that's why I'm saying that one of the problems is that in some instances we only think of these things as formalizing, drawing people into the existing formal system instead of formalizing the informal ones. Two, and still we are using these Goro boys as the example.
Yeah.
One of the problems you could see there has to do with numbers and the issue of economies of scale that we can take advantage of. For instance, if we want to formalize, let's say, Goro boys surrounding the passport application service, it means we have to regulate them and we have to have oversight responsibility, make sure they are doing things well, because like you put it nicely, that is those guys that are doing genuine work. But we all have to acknowledge the fact that there are guys there who are actually duping people who are thieves, and they are part of it. Do you get it?
So it's like killing two birds with one stone.
So it's not easy to think of it as just formalizing them and giving them licenses to operate, but you would have to have oversight responsibility, regulate them. And so
even when I say these things, I'm not saying they are not going to be challenges. But that's why we paid people to think about these things.
Yeah, but Derek,
and make it work.
Derek,
are you getting the point?
No, but we have to acknowledge, we are asking ourselves why it does not happen.
For instance, you're an Agric scientist. You have ideas to Charlie, do stuff. When you get there will be challenges. But I'm sure you come up with innovative ways to get the job done.
No, I mean that's a good point. But I just want to ask this.
Yeah.
You've probably like started your company, really good company. You're doing really well, but then someone on the side comes and he realizes that you've got like a loophole in your company, and then he starts making money off what you didn't look at. Are you going to bring him in, or are you going to leave him to make his own money?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. That's why these are some of the reasons why you have.
Solid question.
These are some of the reasons why you have companies merging and big companies
so what you're saying
buying up smaller companies. That's why we have that.
So that's
right now when we come to.
But this boys thing is not one man company thing. It's not just one person seeing the loophole and doing it.
It's a whole bunch. It's a similar concept. So
the question is, are you going to bring him on board into your formal sector to help you and him, like make money off wherever he's in? So you're going to call the police on him to stop his business?
No. Again, there are two ways in thinking about it. When we want to use the example of business, big business, small business, businesses can either decide to buy you up, or they can negotiate with you and then get into a franchise or something like that with you. Do you get it? So it depends on the context and what we can do. It's still talking about our own issues of the services that Goro Boys offer. What we have to recognize in thinking of why don't we have them formalized and those kinds of things is the numbers. We can't do away with that. It's a fact that it's not easy regulating all the guys that.
You see, I appreciate all that you're saying, but I'm saying if I employ you to do something, I'm not interested in the challenges or the problems that come with what you're supposed to do. I'm interested in results. If you can't do it, I fire you. I get somebody to do it. That's the point. What's the game? The game point or the end game? I need these guys on the team. I need them to be formalized. I need to make some money off them. I need things to be regularized. I don't want people being duped and all the things you can think of. If you appoint somebody, that person can do the job. That person is not right for the job.
Exactly.
You get rid of the person. You get somebody to get it done. Be innovative. If you can't be innovative, go employ some people who can get that shit done. It's as simple as that.
Business strategy, man.
And that is the problem with Ghanaians. We are always talking about the problem, but never the solution.
Exactly.
The solution is always in it's too far.
Yeah. So Derek, you know that
It took a while.
I'm glad we get. I'm glad we keep getting the natural links to the things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this issue of Goro boys and how we can formalize or bring them into the formal system, and basically the goal is to sanitize that environment.
Yeah.
Now, when we were talking the other time, I don't know if you remember, one of the points that I was strongly making is that is the reason, or one of the reasons why I think we need to take our graduate education out here more seriously than we do right now.
Yeah, Charlie, you be guy. You they make the segues give me.
You just slip into the next one.
Because I mean, I'm sure we have people doing graduate programs, postgraduate programs in this country.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That are very closely related to these problems we are talking about. Okay. How many people have you heard on our airwaves as experts, okay, surrounding these issues? Meanwhile, we have had this problem, or problems similar to this one we are describing, almost our entire life as a country. Do you get it?
It's true.
But it's an everyday problem.
You see,
the thing is, if you don't view it as a problem, then we wouldn't even look at it.
Yeah, because
who said we don't view it as a problem?
But we are calling politicians to come and talk about
exactly.
it.
We're not calling academics to fix it.
And you know why? You know why? That's the problem here. I'm talking about we don't think about graduate education and academics and academia the way we ought to.
Yeah,
when it comes to our national conversations.
One Stone Boy fight, you call politicians and they can't comment on that.
For real?
Sanitation, you call politician. Flooding, politician. I mean, where are the technocrats?
How politicians go fix flooding?
In a way, you can't blame them.
Why don't you listen to news,
Derek? In a way, I don't put the blame entirely on our media and those people who give these guys the platform. I put part of the blame on the system that trains us. I mean, our educational system, our tertiary educational system.
Look, let me tell you something, Eben. As for this one, dear.
I agree.
You went through the same system. Look at you now,
Derek. Listen.
You know me. I don't like making excuses.
I actually agree with him.
No, I don't like making excuses for grown-ass men.
Derek,
you're grown.
Derek,
you know what is right,
Derek.
and I know you're trying to eat.
Derek.
I get it,
Derek.
But
Derek.
you know what time it is. You know what is going on.
I'm not saying they couldn't do better. If you listen to me carefully, I said I won't put the blame entirely on them. Okay, fine, they could do better. But let me ask you, will you agree with me if I say that actually most of these guys we are talking about, the media people, the people who they invite to come and talk, and other people who make decisions that matter in this country, that we are all talking about, that there are certain things they could do, they don't do. Most of these guys have gone through our graduate education, postgraduate education programs. Most of these guys have master's degrees and the rest, right? Now, if you have been to a postgraduate program where you did something for your research work, your thesis research, and you know deep within you that, I mean, there were so many cutting of corners and things that you didn't do right ethically, and you yourself wouldn't feel proud of the research you did and the work you did as a postgraduate, and be able to use something you found in your own work. How would you be able to think of another person who went through that same system and want to bring that person to talk about an important issue?
You know, it's a good question.
Do you get where I'm coming from? So we need to reorient our postgraduate education system such that we would, one, actually create knowledge, okay, out of it, and then go to the next step of being able to utilize that knowledge. And by that I mean people acknowledging that there is that knowledge out there that these guys are producing that we could take advantage of. Like we are talking about this Goro Boys problem. I don't know, maybe there exists, but have we ever had an expert being called to talk about what they know about these issues and how
Nope.
we can go around them?
You call a politician and this one says,
You know,
trying jobs.
it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting about what you're saying, because sometimes you go on CNN and you watch like all sorts of like bizarre news, but then there's always an expert in that field.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, that when you blame it on the system, I get it. Fine, you went through the system, but now there's technology, there's internet. You are learning. Like, America is just close to us. America is on my phone. I just tap something and I'm watching CNN, I'm watching BBC, I'm watching Fox News. It's close now. So you get to see what others are doing, and you get to pick and choose who you want to be. I get to my point.
No, but
so
Derek,
that's why I don't make excuses for these guys. If they choose to do this.
If I host for instance, you host this podcast, okay? You call people here to interview or talk about issues because you trust them, okay? And you trust that you can get some meaningful conversations out of them. Do you get it? So if I host a radio program, for instance, or if I host a television program which is popular nationwide, and we discuss issues, and there is no professor at the University of Ghana or any other tertiary institution, or maybe a PhD student or even a master's student who I know does research or learns along these lines, that I want to call, or I feel comfortable, or I can trust that person when it comes to having this kinds of conversation, then what else can I do than to call on the politician who actually is prepared to say something?
I'll answer your question. It's as simple as that. You are not a journalist. If you're a journalist, you will know. If you don't know, you know somebody who knows, because that's your job. You see, once we start making excuses, and that's what I said from the get-go, the Ghanaian mentality with always making excuses for people for being stupid. And I said in the previous, you have to always give people the credit they deserve for being stupid. Your job is to do something, get it done. I'm not interested in the excuses you can give me about, I didn't know somebody. If you don't know somebody else knows. If it means you have to take a plane or drive from Kumasi to the University of Ghana and find that person, that is what you do. Because as a journalist, you're supposed to report facts.
But
not so,
Derek.
But we always trivialize these issues and make it look like, so we can just get this guy to come and talk about it.
Derek.
I'll give you an example. We want to talk about this, although it's your essay, so it only makes sense you should talk about it. But everything we are talking about, you are not, is he a novice? Is that a word?
Expert.
No, a novice, as in you know something about it. So everything we are talking about, it only makes sense that, Charlie, because the views you're expressing are all in line. We may agree, disagree here and there, but that's all there is to it. But we are all trying to make a conversation, and it's a meaningful one. It's a positive conversation we are trying to have here. But you don't go and talk about somebody you know deliberately has allegiance to some sort of mentality or ideology, and is going to spew stupidity or rhetoric, and you still go and take that person, come and sit there and say things on your platform which reaches about 5,000 people. So
are you getting the point? I get the point you are making.
That makes you a lazy journalist.
I get the point you are making. Now I get the point you are making. Maybe what you are really not getting from my point is that I'm not saying that there isn't any responsibility on the part of our journalists, or we'll call them journalists. I'm not saying there isn't any responsibility on their part that they haven't lived up to. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that in reality, there is also that challenge that we have, and we haven't paid much attention to it, and we need to. Because, yeah, I mean, of course, if there were people in abundance and people are not talking to them, then we can place the blame entirely on those who are supposed to look for those people. But it also remains a fact that the people that we say these guys should talk to are scarce. So yes, they have to be. They are.
Are they?
They are. They have to be.
Me, all I'm saying is, if I'm preparing for court and I have a paralegal,
Derek, I bet you.
I bet you. I expect that paralegal to go all the lengths to give me all the information.
I bet you. If you want to talk to people in academia, okay, on issues that they are interested in, with the little experience and friends that I have in that industry, it's not easy. It's not easy to find a university professor who is willing to come and sit on radio with you and talk about something they are unexpecting. It's not easy.
Why?
Because our because the system is not oriented that way. We don't have people who are out there dedicated to researching specific problems and feeling very comfortable.
Are you saying they are not? Are you saying they are not willing to get on air to talk about the issue because
for so many reasons?
They don't know.
For so many reasons. But
if you call somebody an expert, I expect the person to know.
Yeah.
So why is the person not going online?
And mind you, we are not talking about zero situations here. I'm not saying there are no. I mean, we talk to economists at the University of Ghana. We talk to political scientists, even at Tech. We talk to experts. I'm not saying, we all know that it's not a zero issue we are talking about here. We are all acknowledging the fact that we could do more along those lines because these politicians especially just add noise to the conversations. Do you get it? And we wish we could do more. And even beyond the conversations we have on our media, traditional media, the radio and television, even beyond that, when it comes to actually doing the thing, that's where I actually started this point with. When it comes to actually doing the thing, for instance, fixing this Goro Boys problem, my point is that I don't know. I'm not familiar with the departments and units that are supposed to, for instance, be dedicated to these issues. But at least when I look at it from my own field, there are so many very basic daily life problems that if we have people who are dedicated to researching these problems and giving us knowledge as to how we can go about these problems, we would have made some progress. There are reasons why these guys are not able to do those things, and we need to look at those reasons. We need to look at those bottlenecks. We need to look at them and how we can take them away. Why is it that we don't have a postgraduate education system where people do their masters and their PhDs and they can even publish articles out of their work? Why? Why? Do you get it? Why is it that we don't have a postgraduate education system where someone who is experienced in a particular field, maybe say in the bank or real estate, will come with a problem from field, okay, into the classroom and do their master's or their PhD on it, go with their dissertation or their master's thesis as a blueprint to start solving a problem wherever they came from. Why is it that we don't have these things? Because and again, I keep saying that we have to have these conversations relative to what is happening elsewhere, because as a matter of fact, it is what is happening elsewhere that we are looking up to becoming in many instances.
Derek actually said something in the conversation we had a couple of days back, and he said that different people who go to school, people go to do their masters for promotion. Others go because they are actually passionate about what they are learning. So it may be, or it might be, that we'll have like 90% of people who actually doing this masters because they just want a promotion at work. And that could be a problem. So maybe you can actually come in knowing that, these people are, coming in for research purposes. People who are coming not just for certificates, but then to further their studies and make, proper solutions to problems that we have in Ghana.
Yeah, that's true. And so for me, the point is, how then, because we know what happens generally.
Yeah.
Okay, we know what postgraduate education is generally supposed to be about. So if we know that our situation is such that people are just coming in because they need a certificate for promotion, and it deviates from the norm, it deviates from
pass the papers.
It deviates from what helps postgraduate education to contribute to national development. Then how can we deal with that? Do you get it?
Yeah.
But we can't continue to go with business as usual and still expect to see the results that those other systems are producing. Do you get it?
So what I'm thinking
because postgraduate education is the life wire for research.
Yeah, it is.
Research is where knowledge comes from.
Yeah.
Knowledge is what we use to create value.
Yeah.
So if you acknowledge the fact that you lack creation of value as a nation, meanwhile you don't do research, you don't do postgraduate education well, then why do you want to have value?
But the question is the professors or whoever is teaching us, do they actually do enough research to be able to convince us in class?
I think that's where
we're coming from. If they are not doing enough,
and
why are they
those of us going into school? But
no, I'm not talking about students.
It's talking about the academicians, like people.
You get it, the system. So if even the professors are not doing enough research, why is it so? How can we change those things?
Yeah.
Do you get it? Yeah.
But then this brings us into the other thing. You mentioned something I wanted to use as the segue, but as for this one, there will be no segue. Now, you made mention in your essay that we should focus on problems outside our continent because they have serious, consequences or impact on us. How do you explain that?
So the reason why I'm saying that,
and I think we use the SHS theory.
Yeah, I think the reason why I talk about we thinking of problems not only in the Ghanaian context is that, like we just talked about, it's when we talk about creating value or solving problems, it's all about knowledge. That, and as part of the conversation we just ended, we acknowledge the fact that maybe even our professors are not doing enough research. Come to talk of graduate students. Now, the thing is that it's an expensive venture. Research is not a joke. It is very, very, very expensive.
Talk about your research.
It is very, very, very expensive. And so we have to think of it in ways that we can minimize the cost and maximize our profits that we get out of it. And that's how, to me, those that are able to do it and do it well, that's how they've gone about it. You can't just sit in Ghana and think that you can think of the problems of Ghana and do research on them, and you would be able to do meaningful research or have a strong knowledge generation system. It's an expensive venture, and so you have to think of ways in which you can capitalize on, let's say, economies of scale. And that is very, very critical when it comes to the knowledge generation industry, which is research and academia. If you look at problems at larger scales, that is when you make that's when you make more profit. So there are issues that we have comparative advantage in researching in. Okay, at least sub-region level or at the continental level or some even globally. Do you get it? Why haven't we tried to venture into those things? Why is it that even when we get the opportunity to travel elsewhere and do postgraduate education elsewhere, we almost always come back to Ghana and our home countries when we are talking about it, Africa as a whole, to do our research. And it is always some research related to our countries or things that are happening in our countries.
Yeah, are you getting what he's saying?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And so even people who travel outside, like myself, even ourselves, we find ourselves in that hole. How much can we talk about people who are doing their postgraduate education right here? I mean, I haven't met anybody before who is doing his postgraduate education here in Ghana and says that his research site or his or her research site is in Ghana and maybe Cote d'Ivoire and maybe South Africa. So they go to different places to collect data.
Are you getting the point? So I mean, when we started this conversation, I was talking about charity begins at home, and we can start doing business for ourselves, trying to solve our own problems. Now, he has escalated it, and he's talking about the fact that academicians can go further. I've done MBA, you've done MBA, you did yours outside, I did mine here.
Do MSc.
MSc, okay. I did my MBA, I did it here. My research was all based here. What stopped me from actually going outside the country, collecting data, and maybe building a business or coming up with an idea, a solution which solves somebody else's problem? So now we begin to export ideas, we begin to export human resource and stuff like that. What is stopping us from doing that? That's what he's talking about.
Because if we look at what is happening at the global scale, critically, that's where we lack. We don't have things that sell elsewhere.
Everything else here a bit.
Even
that's a solid point.
The things we have that when I was looking at export data, for instance, agricultural export data, one thing that I was thinking about is that some of these things actually that we export, it's not as though we have created any new market out there that we are exporting to. It is our diaspora that we are exporting to. When it comes to neat fufu, for instance, when we are exporting fufu powder, it is only Ghanaians and maybe Nigerians and Cameroonians out there who are going to buy fufu powder and eat. It is not as though we have managed to penetrate the American food culture. Do you get it? Such that I'm not saying we should go and take charge or we should go and take over their food, such that every food they eat is from Ghana. But at least right now, Masa, I went to Asimfosu. Some restaurant that the girl was telling me they have pizza there. I was so surprised and I was kind of annoyed. But
the Italian has been able to sell
his culture. It's not as though it is only pizza we eat here in this country. But they've been able to, that one product which they are known for, they have been able to penetrate so that at least it is a part of what we eat. Do you get it? Go to America right now and come and tell me how many pure Americans that have not come into contact with any Ghanaian or Nigerian that know how to eat fufu, apart from maybe those that have traveled to Ghana or Nigeria before. Do you get it?
But we have been to eat, and
it is all because there isn't effort, okay, to try to learn about elsewhere, to try to learn about problems going on elsewhere, how we can penetrate other people's market. Do you get it?
It's all about us. We limit ourselves.
So when you say us, we mean Africa.
I mean Africa, Ghana in particular.
We even go to Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina, even our neighboring, countries.
How many African countries apart from Nigeria? You go to.
Do you get the point?
You actually visit.
I go to go.
And Derek, the reason why I'm coming to this angle from the issue of research and looking beyond domestic situations and problems is that, Masa, it's not for no reason that you find pizza all over the place now. People have research. People have sent people out here to collect data and do research in some ways and some forms to understand who we are, how we eat, where we eat, and those kinds of things. Do you get it? And
they just didn't get up one day and say they were coming.
Yeah, it's not as though pizza just came because maybe some few celebrities and people who travel saw pizza and brought it and blah blah blah. It is strategic. Those things we see out here. It's not only pizza. There are so many other examples we can talk about. The beggar is all over the place. If we get away from food, who even brought mobile phones? Why is it that now everywhere we go we find mobile phones?
You know our style of building now.
Do you get it?
The kind of cars we drive, we prefer
Do you get it?
European. You know.
Yeah.
So fine. There are so many places or so many areas where people have taken lead. They already have the powers when it comes to the market. But I bet there are still global problems, global niches that we can venture into, because when it comes to even just research, we have a comparative advantage in. And like you said, when we're having that conversation, I talked about two examples. Our educational system, our high school educational system was one of them, and then racism and issues around race and ethnicity. These guys out there, America as I know, are still struggling with the idea of how to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor when it comes to education. They know they have a system in place which forbids that you can't go to certain schools if you are some kind of person.
Yeah, I've seen it before.
You can't go to certain schools if you are some kind of person. Now, let's not deceive ourselves with the fact that no matter what, they have a better educational system, they have infrastructure, blah blah blah. Let's look at the issue at the core unit of analysis that I'm trying to think of it, and that has to do with how easy or difficult it is for us to be equal when it comes to the ladder on education. In Ghana here, if we think of our high school system, for instance, even before we brought in the computerized placement system, it was kind of relatively open. If you are smart in Ashirazi and you are able to blow, you could go to Presec. You get it?
Yeah.
Now, even with a computerized placement system, we have improved far away from where we were. And if you compare it to where the educational system, that the high school educational system that other people that we envy in many things, if you compare it to the systems they have, it's not like that. In Ghana here right now, you can come from Tumu and you'll be placed in Presec, and you will come. Nobody will stop you. There is no system in place to stop you. And so, even apart from the fact that, like I said, even in the past where some schools were kind of like top, almost anybody could get there so long as they could pass. We know that yes, the probability of you passing if you are somewhere was very, very low. But once you pass, you could get there.
Yeah.
And now even that is no more there, such that even the schools, they are almost being neutralized. School BR right now, look at National Science and Maths quiz. And look at how some schools we don't expect will come. Do you get it? Meanwhile, Masa, which university can you think of as a low-class university in America, then 200, 300 years ago, that has bypassed Harvard or Cornell? Do you get it? Meanwhile, right now in Ghana here, even if we bring it to the tertiary level, Legon can no longer pride itself of being almost the only university in this country.
Yeah.
Few years ago, when we were even coming up, there were institutions that if you do your education at, people don't respect you. But now that thing is no longer there.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to IPS and do business administration, we now call it UPS. Nobody will look at you different from someone who went to University of Ghana Business School.
Then they will search themselves.
You but
Yeah.
Very recently it wasn't like that. So my point is,
That's what that one I beg to differ. They've always been sorted after me.
Oh, UPS.
because
I'll be alumni. I'll be alumni. No. But
I was expecting something like that.
Be specific. It's IPS, Institute of Professional Studies. That is where you went to go get your ACC, C and stuff.
Yeah. So maybe I didn't use maybe I didn't use a very good example.
Are you getting the point?
But I don't know if you will agree with me that
when they switched to the degree system, it was still the same lecturers lecturing professional.
Okay.
You know, who were lecturing the degree as well. So it was some different level of education you were getting if you were in IPS at the time, or now UPSA.
Yeah.
And as a matter of matter, let me talk about my shit, nigga. Let me talk about my shit. And for that matter, when you do masters in finance and accounting in IPS, you exempted the whole of part 2 in CA. Because they know the level of education you are getting there. If you're able to pass their papers, it's the same as passing CA. And CA is not cheap. If you go to IPS, it be trouble, it be wahala.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they stress you for nothing. Okay, for something.
So that I get it. Maybe I didn't use a very good example, but the general idea I want to throw out there is that I don't know if you will I don't know if you will agree with me that right now in Ghana, the number of tertiary institutions that people would feel proud going to have increased. Far
it's no longer
like
massively
yeah, even just 10 years ago it was right now there are things that Ashesi is doing that do you get it?
Like at the top.
Do you get it? Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make. You don't have those kinds of opportunities elsewhere. It has always been the Stanfords, the Harvards, the Cornells.
But what you're trying to say is this VSHS thing we've been able to do to bridge the gap.
It's not free SHS, but
not free
high school
system. Not free SHS.
High school
education with the computer and things.
Yeah.
It came in to solve a problem where if you came from Tumu, like you said, and all that, you still have the opportunity to attend these schools these rich kids were going to. And that solved the problem. That meant equity. Right?
To get the level right now you can be the son of a poor farmer somewhere in Agona Swedro, somewhere at Sefiri or so, okay, and you could be attending the same high school with the son of the president,
and all we needed to have done was to just escalate it.
You can't have that in America. The kinds of schools that kids go to is based on where they are coming from.
And that's the problem you are talking about, that we should be looking at other problems.
It's a problem they have there, and they've been struggling to go around.
And we have the solution. And we are not selling it.
Do you get it? So maybe we have some comparative advantage in doing this. Okay. Where if we have paid attention to, when I say we, I mean our researchers who are in that field, we could have created some products, some services that we could sell to other people.
I agree, man.
A similar example when it comes to the issue of racism, ethnicity, discrimination. If you will agree with me, a few years ago when even we were growing up as kids, and maybe even the stories we were told by our parents, Ghana wasn't as it is right now, where anybody could walk into almost every office looking for a job. We had that issue of ethnicity and nepotism, and some people we knowing that, hey, as for these people, they are these people. There's only these people who work in these kinds of places. Do you get it? We had those things, but we have made significant progress. Right now, it's hard to tell who you can find in a particular office or a particular place.
Oh, it's not. When it comes to education, it's not too hard. The housemaster, by all means, have you know? By all means, the housemaster, have you know where you're from? I don't want to talk.
But you get the point I'm making. Meanwhile, some people have been some countries who existed hundreds of years before we did have had issues of racial discrimination, and they actually see them as problem now even more than before. So what stops us from documenting through research what it is that we've done and how we did it and how it has helped us make those progress? And what is stopping us from selling that knowledge or using that knowledge to go out there, create services and products that could help people, deal with that problem they have, and we could make money out of it? And my point is, or the reason that I ascribe to that is, it's because we've not bothered to look elsewhere when it comes to our research, postgraduate education.
You just look internally.
Yeah. And even internally, we still don't even do enough internally.
Sure.
Now, one would ask, how do we go around that problem? There are so many things we need to put in place, but one of the fundamental things I believe we need is to make sure that we pay attention to what people call, or what we call in that industry, responsible conduct of research. That to me is one of the major hurdles. The way we think about research, the way we invest in it when it comes to being responsible with it. Because, I mean, who would want to, again, like I said, who would want to base their decision making on something they can't trust? You get it? So,
Charlie, be like you do. Do you know what I like about this whole conversation is the fact that if you've listened to this point, it's clear for you to notice that this man is a pure academician and he's passionate about it.
He's not joking, man.
And somehow he's been able to translate or, flip it into the business sense or even the moral sense, and how to better our livelihood as Ghanaians. That's what I admire about you. And we need that in our society. Those technocrats, those guys who research. And everything he said, if you are paying attention, he always brings it back to research. So not just coming up with ideas from space. It has to be based on something. And data is everything now. If you look at Instagram, Facebook, and all these tech companies, tech giants, what are they using to do all these algorithms and stuff like that? It's all based on data. And this man is talking about data, research. Don't just sit there and say because somebody is doing a thing. So, Charlie, we to go fit do something. If you don't research and know what is actually going on in your own vicinity, your own country,
that's done his homework.
Charlie, Ghana is proud of you, my brother.
Yeah, thanks for
I'm proud of you, my brother. Man, Charlie, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's been great.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man.
I think we've exhausted this.
Yeah, today we go inside.
we've exhausted it. We've done 2 hours and over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You see, we told you once you get into it and the conversation is going, Charlie,
no idea.
you just allow it to flow.
Yeah, but it's been good. I mean, I like the format we used. Very conversational, and we debate when we have to debate. And yeah, it's good.
I like it, man. I'm proud of you, and Charlie, keep doing what you do.
Yeah, man.
We hope you bring more ideas like this. As for us, the Viewspodcast, Charlie, we'll put on our platform. We'll put on our platform, man.
We'll hold you to your visions and your mission.
Yeah, sure.
And I pray this actually, make a use of English, catapult you, to radio stations and much more influential. I don't say we are not influential. We are influential, Papa. But we are just saying.
I mean, I've heard your previous one, some of them, and I mean, you guys do good, and you talk about very important things, and you use very important techniques that help you to reach to people that I would say even the traditional media will not be able to reach.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother.
That's significant.
Yeah. So Charlie, I hope this platform gives you that recognition you need to get onto even much more bigger platforms. Like we know the general himself, Kwame Sefakai, or Bernard Avle.
But I already watch BBC CNN. What did they talk about? What did they talk about?
Charlie, you see, I still get it. I still they think about local. Yeah, but Charlie, BBC, CNN, Charlie, let's put these ideas out there. Let's help transform not just Ghana, but the Ghanaian mindset. And Charlie, the sky will be the limit. Sure. Again, this podcast is brought to you by the Praetorium. A perfect venue for your perfect occasion. Charlie, today I'll produce this, then do Joe.
Oh yeah.
Then do Joe, then spoil everything.
Then do everything so.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but if you want to do an a wedding, Jeffrey's outdooring song.
My outdooring.
Yeah, town hall meetings, fashion shows. I mean, if you want a space for concert, indoor, outdoor, the Praetorium, man.
There's a place to be, all in one. Everything.
Everything.
Security, PA system, standby gen. Everything there inside.
Charlie.
Let's come.
I mean, prime location. Just call them on 0244-926622 and they'll hook you up. 0244-926622. And where we are broadcasting from now. Where we are broadcasting from now, Medindi Hotel.
Medindi Hotel,
the boutique hotel, home away from home. It's meant for it's perfect for the business traveler.
Yeah.
Conferences, facilities on deck, restaurant on deck, pool. Then my pool they look like
crisp.
Let me see go around. If you go fall inside.
Blue are blue.
Blue are blue. Charlie, call them on 030277 0007 030277 Mr. Ebenezer Offei Ansah. Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for passing through.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule, Charlie, and being here and talking about you and speaking your truth and trying to help change the narrative of Ghanaians, our mindset, our mentality, our way of life.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Always happy to do this.
You do all.
Thanks.
You do all. Once again, my name is Derek.
My name is Jay.
Charlie, and this is Viewspodcast. If you listened to this and you liked it, good for you. If you didn't, good for you as well. This Viewspodcast, we express our views. We're only trying to spark a conversation or a thought. So that we can better our lives and the lives of our children in the future.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, subscribe our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter.
If I talk for the beginning of the whole thing,
we'll do them.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Follow us or let's get interactive on social media at Viewspodcast on Twitter, Views_podcast on Instagram, at Viewspodcast on Facebook. Send us an email on viewspodcast86@gmail.com.
Yeah. Straight.
I mean, send us something you want us to talk about. If you want to get on the platform to let us know. If you're an entrepreneur and you have something popping out there you want us to talk about, you want us to showcase you to the world. Because, Charlie, right now our platform, big man. You know what I'm saying?
Heavy.
Yeah. Holla at us. We'll put you on and then, share your story.
Yeah.
Once again, love God, love yours, and love all.
One.
Yes, one. Yeah. One.